Can I ask you something that is actually making the Pentagon lose sleep? Most analysts think Turkey is just a difficult NATO ally. They're wrong. Turkey isn't just playing both sides, it is building its own side. This week, observing the shifts in Ankara, we have noticed a pattern that changes everything we know about the global south. We are looking at a NATO member that is de facto rejecting the Western paradigm while keeping the keys to the house. Today, I'm giving you 3 tools to decode this: the Strategic Autonomy Playbook, the truth behind the Asia Anew pivot, and the high-stakes succession roadmap that could break the bridge.
These are the mechanics of the Turkish U-turn. For decades, Turkey was the ultimate Western outpost, an integral part of the Euro-Atlantic framework since the Cold War. But there has been a massive conceptual shift starting in the mid-2010s. Ankara realized that relying on the West as its only reference point for economic and social transformation was a dead end. They didn't leave NATO, but they did stop asking for permission. It is a transition from Atlantic solidarity to a transactional strategic partnership. Institutional ties are the floor, not the ceiling. Move slow to shift currencies fast. What would you prioritize if your old allies started backing your local enemies? This isn't just about feelings, it's about survival. The 2016 coup attempt was a psychological break for Ankara. They interpreted the U.S. refusal to extradite Fethullah Gulen and Western criticism of their security measures as a sign of betrayal, or worse, complicity.
Any U.S. involvement in it, that we are anything other than entirely supportive of Turkish democracy, are completely false.
Then came the Syrian crisis. While Turkey saw the YPG as a direct threat to national security, its own NATO allies were arming them. In contrast, Russia was receptive to Turkish concerns, allowing 3 major military operations in northern Syria between 2016 and 2019. Loyalty is a two-way street. Security is a non-negotiable asset. Why stay in a room where your voice is ignored? But why is the number 5 the most hated digit in Ankara's diplomatic circles?
Because it isn't just a number, it's a cage. When President Erdogan uses the slogan, "The world is bigger than 5, he is launching a direct assault on the post-1945 global hierarchy. We have observed that this phrase has become the definitive mantra for Turkey's pivot toward strategic autonomy and the global south. Enter the Asia Anew Initiative, launched in 2019, the Yeniden Asya in Turkish, is a strategic foreign policy shift aimed at strengthening multifaceted relations with Asian nations. This is the master plan to pivot toward the non-Western world. We have observed that this isn't just a political slogan, but an economic necessity. Trade with Asian countries has surged by a factor of 14, jumping from a mere 8.2 billion in 2000 to a staggering $110 billion in 2023.
Turkey became the first NATO country to be an SCO dialogue partner back in 2012, effectively institutionalizing its relations with China and Russia. Economic gravity is shifting east, and Turkey is following the money. The pillar of this pivot is China. In 2010, they upgraded to strategic partnership, and the results are tangible. When Turkey faced economic crisis, Beijing didn't bring lectures, they brought loans. In 2018, the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China issued $3.6 billion for energy and transport. During the pandemic, they even authorized trade settlements in lira and yuan. We see Chinese giants like Alibaba buying Trendyol and Huawei dominating the telecom market. Diversify your allies to delete your dependencies. Would you trade a lecture on democracy for a $3.6 billion lifeline? But China isn't the only Asian player in Ankara's Rolodex. Turkey is diversifying the vector by working with Japan and South Korea. Picture the Marmaray Tunnel under the Bosporus that was built with Japanese investments, or the Turksat 4A satellite manufactured by Mitsubishi Electric. In 2012, Turkey signed a free trade agreement with South Korea, followed by a currency swap agreement in 2021. They have even opened embassies in every single ASEAN country, becoming a sectoral dialogue partner in 2017. Spread the risk to harvest the reward. Now for the Russian access. Despite NATO's frustration, Turkey bought the S-400 missile system and launched the Turk Stream project. On Ukraine, Ankara earned massive dividends by refusing to join Western sanctions, keeping communication channels to Moscow open, and acting as a mediator. They're getting affordable pipeline gas and having Rosatom build the Akuyu nuclear plant.
Pragmatism beats ideology every single time. Track gold, watch dollars crack. Can a bridge really exist if it only touches one bank? This brings us to the BRICS ambitions. We have noticed that Turkey has openly shown its intention to be part of the formation. However, it is using BRICS as leverage to bargain with Washington and the existing system. Unless BRICS develops a shared political vision and physical economic infrastructure, like a new payment system, it remains a tool for bilateral bargaining. Turkey wants the option, but it also wants the central power. Intentionality is high, but implementation is the bottleneck. We discussed it with Taha Oshan, research director at the Ankara Institute. Here is my short interview.
We know that Turkey expressed its will to cooperate with BRICS. And even recently, the new ambassador to China told that your country is very interested in deepening its ties with BRICS. So the question is, how might Turkey leverage BRICS ties to shape Middle East power balance?
I mean, this is a very generic question, and I don't see much homework to be done on Turkish side. But yes, Turkey already openly showed its intention to be part of the BRICS formation, but it's a formation still. And the time is passing, and a lot of time passed actually. And my question, last couple of years, when is the time will come for BRICS to step forward? Stepping forward means having some real physical infrastructure on certain issue, namely economic infrastructure. Currently, Washington is weaponizing entire economic infrastructure. If that pressure, if that pressure, because it multiplied a lot, it was always coercive economic infrastructure controlled by the US, but it is multiplied last couple of years. If not is provocating BRICS to bring a kind of alternative or parallel or new, any kind of economic infrastructure, trade infrastructure,
Like new payment system, for example.
everything. Not only that, I mean, right now it's being weaponized. It's being weaponized. So when is the suitable time will be, if not now, or last couple of years? That brings a lot of questioning regarding the BRICS formations because the vision and the claims were harsh, big, large, but when it comes to implementation, the countries are still in the process of bargaining and using BRICS as a leverage to bargain Washington and the current system itself. So unless BRICS has a political vision, a shared political vision, not agreed, a shared, agreed is a quite difficult one. We don't see that. We were a little bit hopeful after that BRICS published their first political statement in its history, but it didn't follow the new ones. Many things happened. For example, Venezuela, for example, the current threats against Iran or other things. So we don't see such a thing because every actor is quite busy with bargaining bilaterally with the Washington rather than thinking systematically that there is an option maybe for the BRICS. So unless that political vision develops over there, regardless of Turkey or the Russia or the China, more or less in the same position regarding the BRICS. But if such an alternative emerges, and it can only emerge by having a kind of political vision, it will uh, start the economic and the trade infrastructure being a kind of alternative, then we can talk about it. But at intentional level, yes, Turkey is quite interested in it. Not only that, Shanghai Cooperation Treaty interested. Turkey is continuing its relation with Russia, regardless of all kinds of criticism or pressure from the West. Yes, but we should not forget all of them are happening in the very limited area. Not only side of the phone perfect, side of the phone BRICS, Russia, China, same thing is happening. So I think someone needs to unlock, and that responsibility cannot put on a single country. That's why a kind of shared political vision can open the gate, talk about other solid implementations which can bring BRICS as a center of a kind of power.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your opinion.
Erdogan is currently reclaiming regional agency in the Middle East. His tours to Saudi Arabia and Egypt signal a gradual consolidation of a regional stability framework led by middle powers, not external empires. Saudi Arabia just pledged a $2 billion investment in Turkish renewable energy. Egypt and Turkey are aiming for $15 billion in bilateral trade and even defense cooperation with giants like Al-Salsan.
Regional problems require regional actors. Stronger central governments create safer trade routes. Who really wins when external powers intervene? Watch the handshake in Riyadh. This is the five concept in motion. By reconciling with Saudi Arabia and Egypt, Turkey is proving that regional stability doesn't need a hall pass from Washington or Paris. They are reclaiming regional agency, the idea that those who live in the neighborhood should be the ones to manage the neighborhood. Before we go further, I need your help. Think BRICS is not backed by lobbyists or billionaires. We are backed by viewers who want the truth. Support us with super thanks. Sign up on Substack or via other links below. Help us stay independent. Now back to the world bigger than five. The ideological engine behind this is a diverse mix of Eurasianism. You have left Eurasianists who want an anti-imperialist axis with Russia. You have pan-Turkish thinkers focusing on the organization of Turkish states. Then there is Islamic Eurasianism, emphasizing Turkey's mission to bring the Muslim world together. But the ruling Justice and Development Party practices pragmatic Eurasianism. It is about national interests in trade and energy free from fixed ideology. Diverse thoughts, singular focus. Does your strategy have an ideological blind spot? The world is bigger than five is the intellectual software running Turkey's Eurasian hardware. It's the permission slip that allows a NATO member to buy Russian S-400 and sign deals with Alibaba. It's a transition from Atlantic solidarity to strategic autonomy. It means Turkey is no longer a flank state for the big five. It's a central power in its own right. However, there is a massive X factor, the health of Recep Tayyip Erdogan. We have observed that the Turkish leader, who has been in power for over 20 years, is showing signs of physical strain. Reports suggest he's hunching, his voice is quieter, and he relies more on teleprompters. This has triggered a quiet but fierce succession battle. If Erdogan's health fails before 2028, the bridge he built could collapse. Control is a fragile asset. What happens to the deal when the dealer leaves? The two names you must know are Hakan Fidan and Bilal Erdogan. Hakan Fidan, the former intelligence chief turned foreign minister, is the grey cardinal. He is the architect of Turkey's security strategy in Syria and a flexible diplomat who can speak to both the West and Moscow. On the other side is Bilal, the president's son, who has become a prominent political figure, accompanying his father on foreign trips and building a loyalist base.
Some see a dynastic transition coming, others see it as the end of Turkish democracy, strategic depth, or family legacy. Who would you trust with the keys to the Bosphorus? The risk is real. Some analysts argue that without Erdogan, Turkey might swing back to a pro-NATO stance, turning its back on Russia. Others believe the genie is out of the bottle, and Turkey's rise as a regional leader is irreversible, regardless of who's in charge. Turkey currently sits on all chairs, but the inflation rate is hitting 100% and the economy is on a knife's edge. High growth needs high stability. Can you maintain autonomy while your currency is burning? Turkey has developed a unique model, staying inside Western institutions while charting an autonomous path across Eurasia. They're NATO's Trojan horse, and the Global South's strategic partner simultaneously.
Don't expect a dramatic NATO exit. Turkey will keep playing both sides, using the system to beat the system. Sovereignty is the ultimate currency. For Ankara, strategic autonomy isn't temporary, it's structural. Turkey proved a nation can keep its seat at the old world table while betting on the new one. As multipolarity escapes containment, we must rethink loyalty itself in this transactional century. When the bridge between East and West realizes it's become its own continent, what's left of the lands it once connected? Perhaps the world is indeed bigger than 5. Thanks for watching.